For this week's quick review using TopRate, I'm going to focus on the Randwick meeting and look through a few key races and pull out some insights we can take forward. I've focused on three main data points in TopRate. That is the race shape, positions in running, and the ratings that each horse ran to. Here I'm on the winners page, and if I have a quick look down, you can see that Elias was actually the top rated winner at Randwick on Saturday with 101.7, followed by I Am Me and Fangirl. Autumn Glow also rated well. The first race I want to look at is race 5, which was the Kingston Town, won by Elias. A very high rating race here. Elias has gone terrific. Just looking at his form, he's elevated significantly from his first two runs in Australia. Notably, this is the first time we've seen him second up with the benefit of a run under his belt, and he's shown something very, very good on Saturday. At that rating, with 55 kilos in a Metrop, he's good enough to win 5 of the last 6 editions of the race. So it's easy to see why he's a clear-cut favourite there. An alternative path for this horse is to go to, say, the Turnbull Stakes, where I don't think he's out of place off that rating under the weight conditions of that race, and then onto a race like the Caulfield Cup, where he has 53. That rating with 53 kilos makes him very, very competitive, and there's nothing to say he was only second up there that he doesn't have more improvement to come. Cheerworth, I thought, was terrific. He was the one that was unsuited by his position in the race shape. If you just have a look here, they didn't go slow, but it was certainly below average early. He was still well back, almost 5 lengths off the lead at the 400 metre mark. He chased strongly and just looked to peak late, but he did a lot of work in terms of speed between the 800 and the 200. And I think it's a very, very good run from him. You can see he's actually improved, even though he was beaten. He's improved on his last rating and run to a new peak. Similar to last prep, he just keeps progressing each run. Last time in, he peaked 4th up in the ATC Derby. He's got a great platform after that 3rd up run to peak again 4th up. I believe he's going to the Epsom, and he looks a very, very good chance in that race. Golden Path, beaten a couple of lengths, but was still very good. This horse is flying. You can see that he hasn't quite rated up to the run before, but he's clearly established himself now at a higher level in those last 2 runs, and he can certainly win off this performance if he's suitably placed. Next race I wanted to look at was race 7, which was the T-Rose, won by Autumn Glow. First thing to point out about this race is just the shape. They went very slow early, still just even in the middle stages, and then the last 400 metres was very quick, which certainly favoured those up on pace. Autumn Glow was very well ridden outside the lead. A slow run race is certainly not going to be her go in the future, so even though she won comfortably here, I think she will prove to be better than that in the future. She was ridden to win this race as it unfolded and did a good job doing that. I think the run in the race was SnowinMave. Again, just going back to that race shape, the last 400 here is 5.6 lengths faster than typical. She's come from 5 lengths off the lead at that point and cut the margin down to 1.2 lengths. If you just look at all the other horses here that were behind her, they were all much closer in the run. So I think her performance was outstanding. She's only a very lightly raced filly. You can see she's made massive improvement. Like Autumn Glow, she's also by the Autumn Sun, so there's plenty of scope for her to continue improving. And I think up to 1600, I think she poses a threat to Autumn Glow, and I'd have her second favourite in that market, but I believe she's closer to 4th or 5th pick in current markets. The next race to look at is the 7 Sport Stakes, which was won by Fangirl. This was the race I did my pre-race video assessment on, and got a few things right here, especially my Oberon as the long shot that could run much better than the market expected, and he certainly did that. Fangirl's run 101 to win. First thing to point out about this race is the race shape. They went very slow early, and then the tempo increased from there. And to be honest, in the circumstances, I don't think she could have done much more from where she was. If you see here, she was almost 6 lengths back at the 400, and the late speed plus 2.9, so she's made up almost 6 lengths on that fast last 400 metre section, and did it by the 100 metre mark. To be honest, she had the race in her control, and James McDonald didn't push her out over the final 50. So even though 101 is not a particularly high rating, I think it's still pretty good in the circumstances, and we couldn't have expected her to do much more, especially if I just sort her form here by race shape. And you can see that when the pace is slow early, she typically doesn't go much better than 101. She does have this 102.5 here as a 3-year-old where they walked early, but you can see she was much, much closer and just a length and a half off the lead at the 400 metre mark. But all of these ratings here, you can see when the pace is slow, there's only so fast horses can sprint home, and about 101 is her top end for that. She's going to go next start to the Group 1 King Charles, following the same pattern she did last year, where she went third up into that race off a 4-week break, and I assume she'll have a trial in between. She spiked her big career peak in that race last year when she ran 105.7 here to put a big margin on an in-form Mr. Brightside. And a couple of things to point out about that race. Firstly, they did go slow in the early middle stages, but she drew well and she was a few lengths closer in the run. And if you have a look at her form and barrier draws here, she's drawn middle to wide in every single start over the last 12 months except that King Charles. So I think that's a point worth keeping in mind for her as we go forward, that she's always going to settle back off the speed. But look for a scenario where she does draw a little better, because like the King Charles here, that could be the key just to her being that couple of lengths closer in the run. And it could be something that sees her elevate her performance significantly again. I thought Royal Patronage was very good. He's held his rating even though he was poorly suited, missed the start, raced keenly, drifted back. And even though Fangirl ran past him, I still think he's gone quite well, and he can definitely improve when things are more in his favour. My Oberon was obviously good and can bob up in races on his day. And the others, Zugotcha failed to run up to her sort of previous form, so there may be some excuses there. And the others, there's not much to take forward with them. Going over to race 9, the shorts won by IME. She's gone very well. She's such a consistent sprinter. If you just look at her form here at the weight, she's rated a little bit down on her Concord win, but still very good. It's her third best career performance. And you just look at her form profile here, she's so consistent. Over the last 12 months, she's run in Group 1 races 5 times. She's never finished outside the top 4, runner-up twice. When she's Group 2, Group 3 level, she's won like 4 of her last 5 in the last 12 months. So she's a super mare. Her tactical speed and turn of foot's like a huge asset. Steffi Magnetica was fantastic. Came from near last, made up a lot of ground. And while other horses here did also make up ground from the back, I think the thing to point out is that she was first up over 1100. We saw here she ran a peak over 1400 when she won the Stradbroke. And she's resumed here first up over 1100 fresh and gone even better. So that's a very, very positive sign for her future potential, I think. Obviously some excuses here for Private Eye. Spent the first part of the race just drifting backward, trying to find a spot from a wide draw, and was then asked to sort of pick up and go again. He finished off well. He can certainly improve sharply on this performance, especially when he gets up over 1200. Worth pointing out here, Lady of Camelot, who was beaten almost 3 lengths, but she was set a very, very big task going into this race with 55, which is 5 kilos, almost 5 kilos above weight for age on my scale. She gave away a stack of weight for age to IME, Steffi Magnetica, and virtually every other horse in the race. So her 99 rating, or 95.5 at the weights, is not too bad in the context of her form, so I still think she's going quite well. She does need to improve to compete with the top sprinters, but we saw she does have that potential here in the Golden Slipper. So I think put in the proper context, there wasn't too much wrong with her run, especially when you consider she was caught wide as well, so that's worth keeping in mind. So I still think she's going quite well with a view to the future. So that wraps up the review for this week. Some insights to take forward out of TopRate, and as always at this time of year, there's so much more great racing coming up.